This is the thing I tell people. If you've not been divorced, shut up and don't say nothing to nobody that's divorced.
Mm,
A regular breakup is not the same as a divorce.
say that again,
It
please.
is not. So if you've not experienced what it is like, please shut up and refrain from giving your unsolicited opinion about things. It is a very unique experience. Very unique experience, and it is very layered and complex.
Hmm.
The more people involved, the more complex it is.
What's up, Bravehearts community? This is Sean Heineman, your premier pre-engagement coach, back with another segment of It's Scary to Remarry, inspiring you to love fearlessly. We have a special guest with us today. As I stated earlier, this is a guest that he was on my Mount Rushmore as far as people that I want to interview. 2024 has been a phenomenal year. Um, so many great guests, but this one you're in for a treat. Today we're discussing the power of self-awareness in marriage. Today's guest is a husband, father, thought leader, and a performance coach. Has a phenomenal YouTube channel. He's been on some of the biggest stages, rock with some of the biggest names. Bravehearts community, let's show some love to Dewane Mutunga. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, bro. I appreciate you inviting me into your space. Salute to all of the the brave hearts. I like that. That's cool, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Real quick story. I just didn't have a name for the Bravehearts community at first, because I did this some years before and
Hmm.
went through a divorce, hence scary to remarry. And so I was like, I'm gonna give a gift card away to any of my subscribers who can come up with a name for our group. And this lady, she was like, "How about Bravehearts?" I was like, I'm rocking with it. So that's how that came about.
Nah, listen. I mean, I told you. So shout out to you. I've seen your content for some time, and I always thought that it always caught my eye, and I found it unique because it is something that is taboo. People do not like to speak about it, right? Um, and if you've been through a divorce, depending on your experience, what side of it, how you came out of it, it's something that you probably never want to speak about, never want to revisit, or you have conversations behind closed doors, but you don't want to speak about it publicly. It's so many nuanced variations to the whole experience. But I love the branding, right? Like scary to remarry. I'm like it captures the experience and people who've been through it. It catches attention, right? And even Bravehearts, like I think that that's cool, man. So I just want to give you your flowers there.
Hey man, no, I appreciate it, man. Thank you once again. Appreciate it. Those are I'm geek, man. Let's jump into today's topic. Who
Hmm.
inspired you to become the man that you are today?
That's a loaded question. For me, um, I am a lifelong learner, and I believe, you hear people speak about experience being the best teacher. I believe that evaluated experience is the best teacher. And so, with every experience that I have, good, bad, however you want to look at it, I take that experience and I process it and I take what I find and use that to build or integrate into myself moving forward. So, joke, my good sis Nikki, the branding social media extraordinaire. She says if processing was a person, it'd be me, right? I'm always processing something. Um, I'm an introvert. I like to think deeply, and I would say that life has inspired me to become the person that I am through my experiences.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Nikki. Eric Thomas.
Yep.
Yeah, I watch her. Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah, that's family right there, man.
she's a dog, man, for real.
Uh-huh.
Um, Yeah, because so have you always like just been this introspective though? Cause I watch your content and I'm like, man, this dude be on some like some real thought process and stuff. So I'm like, have you always been like that or
You got to think that's the stuff that like I actually am able to share. I'm always processing, right?
yeah.
And so it's interesting because you know I'm very much a A-type personality, very direct, alpha. You know, born and raised New York City,
Yeah.
but I'm very thoughtful,
Hmm.
right? Even if my natural cadence is like I'm in real time pulling words that fit this exact moment, and I'm always like that. That's just who I am. I've
Yeah.
always been a voracious reader. I've always been someone who appreciated solitude because it allowed me to get in touch and understand myself better. And
Mm.
so I feel like I've always been a self-aware person because I've always dedicated time to being with myself without the influence of other people so that I can really truly understand what I think and what I feel. I come from a really big family, so
Mm.
you have all of those personalities and influences. Sometimes you just appreciate quiet alone time, and in that time I just use that to sort of go through my day. Now as a grown man who's been through some things and lived some life, what processing looks like for me, and I'm gonna sort of like speak in first draft, but where I'm at in my work now is my understanding of processing is it's our way of emotionally integrating experiences in our life.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so things are always happening, but we're not always sitting with how we feel about them or what feelings those things are invoking in us. And
Hmm.
so I love to learn and I love to understand, and I'm a big proponent of curiosity. And so I love to just explore. And I can get lost exploring the world, but I can also get lost in myself and exploring what's in there. So that's the type of person that I am.
Mm. Nah, that's what's up, man. That's real because I think I was doing some research on psychology today, I believe. Love Psychology Today been a love their platform. I believe that they said 85% of people live on autopilot.
Yeah.
So very few people are really being introspective or taking the time to check in with themselves. It's always about just, cruise control. I'm set it at 85, we rolling at 85, all through the freeway. You know what I'm saying? Which can cause a lot of problems in marriage and relationships because you're not really present.
Right. And furthermore, the research shows
Mhm.
that people are only present, like people are only conscious and present for an hour and a half every day.
Wow.
So you're only conscious of what you're thinking about, what you're observing for an hour and a half out of 24 hours.
That's wow.
On average, we have about 80,000 thoughts a day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
95% of those thoughts are repetitive, and 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts,
Mm.
right? And you got to think about the fact that biologically, our brains are designed to keep us safe.
Yep.
And so we're always in a loop of how do I keep myself safe?
Mm-hmm.
And our actions are defense mechanisms more so than anything.
Yeah.
And in that little hour and a half that we have, we can process, we can try to correct the automatic responses, like all of those things, but it is a life's work to really be self-aware and really be conscious of building new habits and breaking poor ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally am obsessed. I have like Mamba mentality. I have this obsessive, monomaniacal desire to be. my highest possibility. I'm just really fascinated to see what the heights of my ability are.
Mhm.
And that's why I take the time to assess myself so that I can always look for ways to improve.
Mm, love that. Love that. Man, it's yeah, and that's a show within itself, right? I'm gonna bring you back just to talk about that alone. How did your own journey of divorce and remarriage shape your understanding of self-awareness in relationships?
um, how did my journey shape my understanding of self awareness? So I would say a few things. All transformation starts with self awareness. All transformation, right?
Mhm.
And I say that because awareness breeds choice. So you can't choose something that you're not aware of. You can't be something that you haven't seen or experienced. And so my first marriage, I was coming from the frame of mind as coming from being a child that was about 8 or 9 years old. And I remember writing a personal mission statement. And in this personal mission statement, it was one of the things that I wrote was that I would be married to one person and have children with only this one person. And everything that I did was to get family right because my parents had split. And
Mhm.
that informed the way that I approached. I've never casually dated. I've always dated to marry. I've always been very focused on if I'm going to do this because
Mhm.
I understand how important it is, I need to get this right. But not understanding, right, that I got into that with limited knowledge.
Mhm.
Just because you 18, like I met my first wife in college. And in college you think you grown, but
Oh,
you
so what?
don't know.
How old were you? So hold on. So how old were you in the first marriage then? 18?
It was my whole 20s.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I would, you want to say, yeah, literally my whole 20s. So,
Yeah.
like the thanks, my birthday's in January. It was the Thanksgiving before I turned 21,
Wow.
and I was my 30s. I was getting a divorce. Right, I was at 30. We was cleaning it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you're always making decisions based on what you've been exposed to. And so I tell people all of the time, one of the things that I've learned through experience is that your life as it is right now is a reflection of you choosing from the choices that are available to you. But your dream life is out there. You just haven't been exposed to the choices to choose it.
Mm.
And so I didn't have the wherewithal to understand very basic concepts around um, how to communicate. Um, I didn't have the foresight of seeing problems before they came down the pike. Uh, you know, um, I had been successful at willing things to happen. You
Mm.
can't do that in a marriage. It takes two people who are fully committed to
Yep.
doing this. If any one person is quiet quitting or anything, it's not going to work.
Yep.
So, I understood just simple things in approach. Hey, what's wrong? Nothing. I know something is wrong. What's wrong?
Mm.
Nothing. I don't want to talk about it. Clearly, something is wrong. Can you tell me what's going? Versus, what's wrong? Nothing. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm fine. Hey, listen. I understand you might not feel comfortable speaking to me,
Mhm.
but if I am a person that you choose to speak to about whatever this is, I'll be over here.
Mhm.
Just approach and how you handle things,
Yeah.
um, and just the pressures as well.
Hmm.
Being a young black man who's trying to be successful, who's trying to raise a family right when you don't have a blueprint, like all of these things.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't know what I didn't know. And
Hmm.
now you add another person who don't know what they don't know, and you find yourself in a situation where um, quite frankly, it ended up being very, very toxic.
Hmm.
Um, and then you start to mishandle
Yeah,
situations.
for sure.
And personally, I found myself in a situation where I'm a I'm a very loyal, ride or die. I'm ride or die, hide the body, whatever we need to do type.
Yeah.
Um, but I tell people I would have been there. What made me stop was it became a matter of life and death for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was self-preservation and understanding that I had responsibility and I had children there and knowing that this was not healthy.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to do was give them something good that I didn't have,
Hmm.
but I was exposing them to something that was harmful in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that experience informed my ability to choose. So post separation, just being with myself. My motto was my bag and my babies. Anybody
Hmm.
that know me know my bag and my babies. Don't try to set me up on no dates. I don't want to hear none of that. I'm not. Um, but being with myself for some years,
Yeah.
right? Being abstinent, not entertaining, just cold turkey, really locking in on myself. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? You know, the introduction of therapy, going to therapy for the first time. Like
Yeah.
all of these things gave me tools to analyze and assess myself, but also be able to gauge and make choices more informed when I'm looking for a partner.
Hmm.
So,
For sure. No, I hear you, man, because going through my divorce, um, I remember when I first told it to my kids, and I was just like, oh man, this is gonna suck, having to tell them that me and their mom is gonna separate.
mhm,
And it was just so much anguish, man, because I knew it was coming down the pipe, but at the same time, I knew that the way my ex-wife and I were behaving, it wasn't good for the kids.
yeah,
Right. So a lot of times, it's like people, oh, stay for the kids. No, because you might do more damage than help because you're arguing every night consistently and the kids are seeing this. So that was just something that I had to learn myself. Like I was afraid to actually divorce. You know what I'm saying? I tell people that
that was my only fear in life.
really.
I'm I'm a kid from the Bronx, like,
Yeah.
and I was outside.
Yeah.
You could put me in a room of killers, whatever. I don't care about nothing. My fear to
Hmm.
that point was getting a divorce.
Mm.
Because that means that that little boy who wrote that personal mission statement
Yeah.
and all that work I put in, my vision was shattered.
Mm. Hmm.
So, really, one of the biggest parts for me was now what?
Yeah.
My vision for life is shattered. Now what? But
Mm.
that ended up being the biggest blessing for me because I had to endure and experience the one thing, the only thing that I feared in
Mm.
this life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you deal with your nightmare, there's nothing that life could throw at you that it bothers you anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's real. Because I was married 15 years, just about 15 years, and I just knew like the last 5 years I was done. I knew it, but I was afraid to pull the trigger. You know what I'm saying? Having
Yeah, no.
that
Let me
fear.
tell you, the kids. My daughter was so smart. She was like, let's go on a daddy daughter date. We're gonna go shopping and let's go get some food. We went out and she was right about the time when they start to get conscious around their body and wanting privacy.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's in the dressing room and she calls me in and I'm kind of confused because I'm like, oh, she's been wanting privacy. So I thought something was wrong. I went in and she was like, she's facing the mirror. She's like, Daddy, why don't you smile anymore? And I was
Mm,
like, what do you mean? And she was like, the only time that you smile is when you brush your teeth, and that doesn't count.
mm,
And I'm like, well, how does that make you feel? And
mm,
she said, it makes me sad. because I want you to be happy and you deserve to be happy.
Wow.
That right there,
Hmm.
like that did something to that took something out of me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And to your point, when we ended up having a conversation with them, my daughter was like, I knew y'all was gonna get a divorce. I was just waiting for y'all to tell me.
Mm. And how old were your daughter at the time?
She was young. She was probably maybe seven, maybe like
Oh, okay.
7, 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
she, she was, yeah, she was about 7 or 8, maybe around
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was,
Mm.
she got to really see,
Yeah.
um, and experience things enough to where she felt like she needed to say something to me.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And that's good too that she was actually able to, express how she felt, going through that process. There's a lady, X Delisa Rose. She says, "Thanks for the opportunity to listen to this, going through it now, and it's great to hear this stuff." So, just hearing, grown
No,
men.
absolutely. And to her, this is the thing I tell people. Uh, if you've not been divorced, shut up and don't say nothing to nobody that's divorced.
Mm,
A regular breakup is not the same as a divorce.
say that again,
It
please.
is not. So if you've not experienced what it is like, please shut up and refrain from giving your unsolicited opinion about things. It is a very unique experience. Very unique experience, and it is very layered and complex.
Mm-hmm.
The more people involved, the more complex it is.
Yep.
Um,
I'm
but
glad you said that.
but I think that there is enough wisdom in the world
Mhm.
that you can do it in a way that minimizes damage and puts you on a path to healing, that isn't staggered and delayed, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure, man. Man, this is good. How can someone identify their blind spots in marriage?
So here's the thing about, um, you know blind spots. I believe, you know blind spots are natural. Everybody has them. Blind spots are natural, but weaknesses are manufactured,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So
Can you
you
break that
have
down
people,
though? You said weaknesses are manufactured. Can you break that
yeah.
down? Because
Blind spots are natural, but weaknesses are manufactured, right? So like for every gift, there's a for every blessing there's a curse. For every gift there's a struggle,
hmm. Hmm.
right? And so, for example, myself, very A-type, very direct. So more than likely my delivery is going to be off. I might hurt somebody's feelings.
Hmm.
Um, I'm introverted, so you let my mama tell it. Unless I tell you, you never gonna know what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. I'm kind of stoic, hard to read.
Yeah.
I, I'm I'm not a warm person, but I'm a good guy.
Mm.
I'm kind of distant
Hmm.
until you get to know me, and then I open up. But everybody has a gift, and everybody has a blind spot,
Yeah.
and so just the work of being self-aware. That's just for the individual. But now you got two people, so now you got to figure out how those things coexist.
Hmm.
And so for me, um, this journey, right? Um, when I was going through when I was going through the so let me stop.
Yeah.
I remember us being in a counseling session,
Mm.
and the counselor was like, "Well, do you think that your wife supports you?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really ask anybody for help. I don't burden people with me."
Mm.
She's like, "Well, you're not really answering the question. Let me ask her." And she was like, "Well, do you support your husband? Do you?" She's like, "Well, I don't feel like I need to clap for him or cheer him on because everybody already tells him how great he is." And that took air out of me. I was so confused. Fast forward,
Mm.
I end up taking a disc assessment,
Yeah.
which is what, you know,
Hmm.
many people may know me for now.
Yeah.
I take a disc assessment. And for those who may be curious, disc assessment is a behavioral framework created by Dr. William Marston.
Hmm.
He's the creator of the lie detector. Fun fact, he also created Wonder Woman, the superhero character. But he was a Harvard PhD who basically synthesized human behavior into four quadrants.
Hmm.
What I learned is that, and so this is on a scale from 1 to 100, I'm a 99D, right? My
Yeah.
natural and my adaptive behavior is a 95, right? So your natural behavior is who you are when nobody's looking, when you're in your natural environment and you feel comfortable. Your adaptive behavior is who you are when you feel stressed, first impressions, right? I'm always direct,
Yeah.
right? High D personalities are very direct. They're very driving. They're wired for solving problems and getting results.
Hmm.
They care about getting things done by any means.
Yeah.
And then the other personalities, you have high eyes. They are people who are the people persons, the stars.
Yeah.
They're connectors. They create community.
Hmm.
They're emotionally tied to people. You have high S's who are more about pace and stability. They're team players, but they're
Yeah.
more behind the scenes. And then you have high C's who like to get things done, but they're very formal and systematic.
Hmm.
I studied this assessment and I realized I'm a high D. I immediately cringe because I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm a tyrant.
Hmm.
I try to get her to take it. Once she takes it and I look at it, I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
we're opposites. We attract.
Yep.
I'm a high D personality. She's a high S personality.
Hmm.
I like to solve problems. High S's are accommodating and conflict averse. Now with this information, I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense.
Right.
I'm trying to force us. I'm getting the work done and I'm making it happen, but she's saying yes to things that she doesn't really mean to say yes to because she's so accommodating.
Yep.
And because she's non-confrontational, she doesn't want to mention it. So when it does come out, it's already past the time that I can go fix it. And
Hmm.
now it's passive aggressive and it's resentment, right? And so just not having the information, I didn't have the tools to deal with this equation. Um, but in studying this, I realized the blind spots.
Hmm.
I realized that individually, one, I am not a social butterfly.
Yeah.
She loves to be in the mix and things to be liked,
Hmm.
and things to be flush. She's a flower child.
Yeah.
I'm grit, I'm grind, I work hard. She don't like nothing being difficult,
Yeah.
right? Communication now. I don't mind having difficult conversations and I like to look face to face.
Hmm.
She shrinks in face to face, but likes to write notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is, unless you have experience now, right? This is going to cause an issue.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're not even talking about 20 something year old egos.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is you need to evaluate yourself.
Hmm.
And I happen to have a tool to do that. So I was blessed with like some objective data I could look at and analyze.
Yeah.
And I studied that literally every day for 2 years
Wow.
while going through everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I was able to really see myself. I like to get things done, but the way that I get things done can be emotionally taxing to people,
Yeah.
right? Um, I'm forceful. I take up space. How do I create space for other people? So all of those things, I had to learn.
Yeah.
And then how do I mix and match? How do I mesh with other people? So if I know that you're a people person, I'm not gonna cut straight and get into business. I'm gonna ask you how your day was. I'm not gonna be fake,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna be like, hey, how's your day? Or how was your weekend? Or how was the holidays? How did you do this?
Yeah.
That's cool. I really like that watch. That's cool. I like watches. I collect them. I've learned
Mm,
how to be selectively social and how to be engaging when I need to,
yeah. Yeah.
but in an authentic way.
Yeah.
And I think
Nice.
I struggled to be authentically me in
Hmm.
the relationship because by duty and obligation, I felt like I had to be this type of person that wasn't really me. And it caused a clash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that happens, right? I think that happens to a lot of couples. I know for my wife and I, it's like we can both, well, I'm an introvert by default. Like I can chill by myself. And like I can turn it on when I need to. My mom, she watched these podcasts. My mom's like, boy, you never said two words when you was young, and she's like talking all the time now. uh,
Hmm.
but my wife is like the life of the party. And it's funny because when people meet us, they like, oh, y'all like the people. It seemed like I've been knowing y'all forever just from on social media. And I was just like, I'm just from an era where if I post something, it's me. It's like there's no,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like if you just met me in person, people be like surprised. I'm like, it's social media, man. I'm 47. I've been around for a long time. So social media doesn't. That's me. That's who I am. So
I don't have time to be nothing else.
yeah, right. For real, man. Listen, life is too short. Um,
That's real.
I want to take a breather real quick. I kind of want to switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk today about, well, not today, but I just want to break this segment down. And my wife and I created this Love Fearlessly Intimacy card deck. So what it is, there's 30 questions in here that my wife and I created, put our heads together, experience, divorce, you know, coaching, all these different things. That's kind of like the difference with my wife and I, because a lot of times people do have these cards. But I think with us putting our heads together, I think that's kind of what make a difference. You get the male and the female perspective
Hmm.
under the same roof. Good times and bad times, right? So we created these cards. So Dewan, I want to take a card from the deck, man, and I want to ask you a question.
Go
Um,
for it.
yeah, man. So here's one of the questions. Here's one of the cards. The questions. How did you manage hurt and disappointment growing up?
Mm. Um, anger, anger. Um, I'm very much prototypical Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
super cool until I'm not, and then I go scorched earth, right? Like
Mm.
my thing is, if you pitch the tent, I'm gonna bring the circus. I'm gonna stay out your way. I'm gonna leave you alone. Um, but I don't have no problem with there being a problem. Um, and so I think really early because I realized how explosive my anger can be,
Hmm.
it made me remove myself from people so that I didn't do things that were destructive.
Mm.
And so I spent a lot of time reading and writing. Um, and my mode of processing, excuse me, was just being with myself and
Mm.
either journaling or
Mm.
listening to music and being able to hear things be articulated in a way that I had not yet had language for, right? And so it gave me language, right? It's another thing that I'm really keen on is emotional literacy, right? How literate are we about being able to name the things that we are feeling and express them in a clear way? And so for me, isolation and kind of distancing myself from people so they couldn't provoke me
Yeah.
into being an angry, destructive person.
Mm.
And so like I just always been kind of solo and like a loner to myself, off to the side, um, being more kind of like stoic and like, you know,
Yeah.
more guarded with people.
Hmm. Hmm. Understood. Yeah, man, because that feelings wheel, like the little wheel, the feelings,
Yep.
like anger, frustrated, and this is something that has helped me in my marriage as far as going beyond the anger, right? I know sometimes my wife and I fall out and I'll tell her I'm angry, but then I'm like, wait a minute, let me backtrack. I felt abandoned. Now the conversations change
Yeah.
because she's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Now she's seeing me through a different lens because if I just tell her I'm angry, then she ready to, get frustrated too. So that
The
language,
secondary emotion. Anger is a secondary emotion.
yes.
It really means that you're hurt.
Yep.
And for me, I think this is important too. I too have abandonment schemas.
Hmm.
So those issues of feeling abandoned are like real things. And so also part of my young brain as a child was I learned that the fewer hellos that I gave meant the fewer goodbyes I had to give.
Mm.
So it just made me stay to myself. I was like no new friends before no new friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that was my thing because it was a way to keep myself safe. And
Hmm.
everybody, and I mean everybody listening to the sound of my voice, the way that you operate, the way that you navigate life is based on a foundational fear that you have. It is your primary coping mechanism to keep yourself safe. And everybody has a coping mechanism.
Yep.
We might have different ones and we might do things in different ways, but we're doing different things all for the same reason.
Hmm.
And once you understand that everybody is operating from this place of wanting to be safe, it allows you to have compassion. And that compassion creates space for understanding.
Yeah.
And it really goes a long way in relationships when you present vulnerability and it's received by somebody who knows what to do with it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Because that emotional intelligence, I think, is important because a lot of times people, especially like when I'm coaching people, they'll be like, I'm a safe space. I'm like, but y'all arguing back and forth. How are you a safe space and y'all going back and forth like this? You know what I'm saying? If y'all was a safe space, this would this wouldn't be the issue now. You know what I'm
That's,
saying? So
mhm.
yeah, man. But anyway, how can married couples strike a balance between being self-aware and not falling into criticism or blame?
Well, I think again, awareness is a byproduct of exploration of self.
Mhm.
So you have to spend time with self. One of the things that I learned in my work with, high performers, CEOs, executives, the most one of the most dire issues that they have
Mhm.
is finding an honest, consistent feedback loop. And so that just means having people who can tell you the truth. I always tell people you want to have people who love you, who respect you, but
Mhm.
they're not impressed by you. They're going to tell you
Mm.
what you need to hear.
Yep.
And you can only, like, it's really difficult for you to grow when you're surrounded by people who nice their way through relationship with you. You have to have a level of accountability and you have to have someone who can be honest with you. And so I think you should lead, right? Take the time to be aware, um, and then really put your cards on the table. Understand this is where I'm strong and this is where I struggle. And you have to figure out how you mesh with another person. I know one of the things with my wife now,
Mm.
um, and this might sound crazy, her ability to apologize was profound to me.
Yeah.
And I'm really not even being funny. I'm just saying, like,
I hear you.
to see her be able to say, you know what, I apologize for XYZ. I almost didn't know what to say the first couple of I didn't know how to receive it,
Yeah.
right? But what it did tell me was, okay, I can work with this. I can work with this, right? Like, this is someone who is not afraid to be who they are. But if they feel like they were out of pocket or offensive, they are willing to take the initiative to apologize so that we can move forward together, right?
Yes.
Um, and two words that I found to be key um, in this iteration of marriage is anticipation and initiative.
Mm,
Can you anticipate the needs of
mm,
your spouse and
mm-hmm.
take the initiative to give it to them before they have to ask for it,
Preaching. That's
right?
my wife all day. She'll be on that.
AI, that's the new AI, right? That's the AI for the married folk. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah,
That's good, man.
I think we also create space for us to have conversations. We have review time. What's working,
Yep.
what's not working,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Even with the kids, we have family meetings.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to have a voice here. Everybody gets to be heard, right? And so we create a culture of accountability,
Mm.
right? One of the things that I appreciate is she's not afraid to hold me accountable,
Mhm.
but not be disrespectful in doing so. And
That's
that
hard.
that is a key. Direct but not disrespectful. Accountability without disrespect. Feedback without belittling.
Very few people can master that where they could still be heard and still be respectful about it. Because and I realized because as I hear you talking, and it's something that I had to work on big time. It was just like my wife will correct me about something, and I get frustrated, I'm mad, and I'm like shutting down. I'm like, okay. And I had a big issue with stonewalling and shutting down and not expressing myself. But I realized over time, I was like, you know what? Let me process this. And I would always ask myself, like, this is your spouse. Do you really think she trying to see you lose? You know what I'm saying? I just had to ask myself that. So over time, and I still struggle with it. Don't get me wrong, I'm far from perfect. But I was like, you know what? I apologize. I'll tell her I'm sorry. But then I'll be like, let me say back to you what you're saying to me.
And let me tell you something. What I'm hearing you say is goes a long way.
Exactly.
A long way. And here's the thing, the reality is you have to be mature enough to acknowledge how you feel and coexist in the same space with another human being who has feelings that also need to be acknowledged but may
Mhm.
differ.
Yep.
And so you got to be able to be in the same space and not compete around whose need needs to get met first,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
This is a partnership.
Hmm. Hmm.
So where's the equitable contribution? Or sometimes we both don't have it for each other. So I'm
Yep.
gonna go over here and do what I need to do for me to get myself right,
Yep.
and you go do that for you over there.
Yep.
But what I'm not gonna do is make you responsible for my work with myself. I don't care how you're dealing with me.
Hmm.
It doesn't give me license to deal with you a way that's disrespectful.
Yep.
So before I'll be like, "Oh, you got me messed up. I'm about to like again. I'm gonna crank up. Hold on."
Yeah.
Not realizing like, hey, listen, I understand that you're upset, and I really want to understand how you're feeling and where it's coming from, and what we can do to prevent this from happening moving forward.
Yep.
Um, but in this moment, I don't feel safe, or I don't appreciate the way we're going about this conversation. So unless we can find a more constructive way to have a conversation, I think we should pause.
Yep.
Right, and just being able to de-escalate situation. It takes experience.
Yep. Yeah.
You have to be taught. Nobody's born like this.
No. Yeah, you gotta and for today's, I mean, to those who dating out there, man, emotional maturity, man, you can't put a price on that. Like being with somebody who's emotionally mature, that's next level, man. Because when you're in your feelings, you're flying out the window.
But I was tested in my first marriage. So again, being a person who is introverted, who's more on a stoic side,
Yeah.
with a person who is extroverted and and looking for, like, I found myself in a situation where uh I find myself in situations across the board, but in this situation where people want to get a reaction out of me because I'm so cool, calm, and collected to them.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so it's almost like somebody like poking and poking and poking, and I had to get myself to the space where I'm like, regardless of what a person says or a person does, I am not going to come outside of myself or let that get me off my square.
Yep.
Because the person who can control your emotion controls you. And
Preach.
so I'm not going to be a crash dummy and, box myself out or get myself knocked out of position.
Yep.
Excuse me, I'm not going to do it.
Yep. And it's sad because the person who does that, who know how to control your emotions, they just like to poke away. They just
But that's the thing about being married, though, because you give the person the button.
yep.
You give them your vulnerabilities.
Yep.
So it's like, can I trust you? We're not pushing that button when you feel like you want to go there with me.
Mhm.
And I think that is the difference, right? It's having somebody who. It's all right. Thank you. Thank you. Um, good.
This is
Um,
great content right here. I like this.
my life is real, bro. I don't.
That's what's up. I
I don't
love it.
sugarcoat nothing.
Yeah.
Um, it's about having something that knows that they got the button, but they're not going to break glass under any condition, right? It's like people can say they're a safe space, but do you know how to hold space for me?
Wow.
Do you understand that the way that I'm acting right now is because I don't feel safe? I don't feel heard. And I need you to speak to me in a way that hits that chord,
Yeah.
makes me feel seen. It is, listen, if you can make your spouse feel acknowledged, feel seen, feel appreciated, and feel celebrated,
Mm,
right? For who they uniquely are and not who you want them to be,
preach.
it will transform your relationship.
Yeah, man. Yep. That is so true because a lot of times, we get into relationships thinking that we're gonna change this person, but it's the person who you can love them for who they are, and for them to have that space to be who they are without you trying to change them. That's people they be loving it, you know.
It's a journey, man. It's a journey.
Man, listen, one day at a time. Oh, I have a bonus round, man. So before we end this show, uh, there's some questions. This is Dewane Uncut. So feel free
Okay.
to feel free to
Okay. Listen.
if anything go viral, it's okay. So I'm gonna ask you these quick questions. Um, what's the biggest mistake you see women make in marriage or wives?
I would say it's a lack of emotional maturity, and I think women don't understand how men are socialized around the concept of respect. For a man, respect equals love. And so you can't, in a man's mind, you can't love me if I don't feel like you respect me. And Your version of respect doesn't matter because my version of respect is how I receive it, and you have to attune yourself to the person that you're dealing with. So you can't respect me in your terms. You got to respect me on mine.
Yep. Real
That
talk.
that's just how that goes. So I think it boils down to respect.
For sure. For sure. From seeing your parents' relationship, what did it teach you about relationships?
Hmm. Um, I would say one, it taught me how to be mature in relationship even when you don't agree. Um, my parents never spoke to me about each other in an ill manner. Even though they weren't together,
Yeah.
my father be like, "Yo, that's none of your business. That's
Mm,
me and your mother's business." You know what I'm like? I didn't learn about their relationship till I was an adult,
mm,
and I appreciated that.
yeah.
Um, and so I learned how to coexist and disagree without, speaking ill
Yeah.
or dealing or including children in the mix.
Yep.
Um, but I also learned the importance of not letting ego get in the way
Hmm.
of the relationship. And so when I'm in relationship with people that I love, there is no pride and ego involved. And that's not just my marriage, that's anybody that I love. Love and ego don't coexist. They can't occupy the same space in my mind.
I agree. I'm with you 100% because sometimes your boy be struggling with the ego, man, and I be having to check myself. I'm like, Sean, you know what? It ain't worth it.
Mhm.
Who makes a better spouse? Someone never married or someone divorced?
Someone divorced for sure.
Yeah.
Someone divorced. I
Yeah.
mean, you got experience, man. Like again, you broke up with your college sweetheart, your booski. It's not the same, man. It's not the
Mm,
same.
mm. We have a question real quick, Dewan. You want to take this? You want to
Yo,
take
I'm
this?
here for however long you need me, man.
Okay, for sure. The question was asked, does he wish he would have hung in there until the other developed, or is it to
No,
end versus endure the journey?
nope, no, no, no. I couldn't.
Mhm.
Um, it it got when I say like toxic, like um, it got super toxic. Like um, you know, verbally abusive.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
Yeah. Feel free to share whatever you want to. There's no
no, no,
pressure.
no, no. I'm just saying, like verbally abusive.
Mhm.
Arguments, all of the stonewalling things, and just being disrespectful.
Mhm.
She got physical with me,
Mhm.
trying to provoke me to do something and it just once we start getting there,
Yeah.
for me, I'm the type of person, just being human, we're gonna hurt each other.
Yep.
But if I know you're intentionally trying to do something to harm me, it's hard for me to unsee that.
Yep.
Um, and so uh, those are certain things that I couldn't allow myself to be exposed to, knowing that I have no business being exposed to it.
Yeah.
Um, and so like I'm a person that's willing to work through most things, but I think once we get to the point where you don't have common basic respect or care for me like as a human,
Yeah.
we gotta stop.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. So that was, yeah, he answered. For sure. So next question. What's harder for you to say? A, I apologize. B, I need help. C, I love you. D, I was wrong.
I need help
Yeah.
by far. I am uh, a Capricorn. I'm an introvert, and I'm very much an A-type personality. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
even
and does that flow in your marriage too? Because a lot of times wives, they be wanting to help us.
Yeah, no, my wife gets on me about that all the time.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I've, I told her I never, ever in my life, ever heard my father complain about anything.
mm,
Never.
mm,
Currently, right now,
mm,
my father has stage 4 cancer.
mm.
Exercises, move. I've never heard this man complain about anything. Never.
Wow.
So that does something, right? Like it's again, you watch and you model that. So I might be going through something. I
Mhm.
have this saying, right? I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining.
Got you.
So I can explain something to you without. I'm not complaining. I'm
Hmm.
just informing you because you asked me about it.
Got you.
But I do have a challenge with. I'm the person that's going. I'm gonna die with the white flag in my hand,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I hear you.
and it's not ego. I think for me, if I'm being well, I would say there probably is some ego. Let me
Yeah,
stop.
but I say it's like a little ego.
No, it is. I was gonna say it is a little
Yeah.
ego, but I think I struggle with. It's like trying to diffuse the bomb before the time goes out, right?
Mhm.
Like I naturally love challenges and things that are difficult. I like overcoming things, like, and so what happens most times is I find myself too far down the rabbit hole before I'm like, I need help.
Hmm. Hmm.
Excuse me. And
Yeah.
usually my people are like, "Oh, he's doing the thing again. Let's get him back."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so those are real people because they know they like, oh, there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and willing to pull you out, right? And they willing to pull you out. That's what's up.
Yeah, man.
Last question. Is it easier to love yourself or someone else?
Is it easier to love yourself or love someone else? That's that's a good question. I um
In your own personal life.
I think that it's easier to love yourself. I think loving yourself is a lot easier than people think it is.
Mm.
Loving somebody else is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard,
Yeah.
right? And here's the kicker. Loving somebody else has nothing to do with loving that person. It's about choice.
Mm.
It's about commitment. And it's about endurance. It's about staying power. It's about marathoning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love, let me listen. If anybody out there is a hopeless romantic, or maybe you not, or you just love, love is not enough. I mean, let me tell you right now,
Preach.
it's not enough.
Preach.
If you think love is enough to save a healthy relationship, you're mistaken. The only thing, the only thing that will allow you to be married 10, 20, 30, 40 years is a commitment to being married 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yep.
The only reason why people are not married anymore is because they don't want to be married anymore. It's really that simple.
It is. That's true. Very true.
It's super simple.
Hmm. Hmm. Agreed. Yeah, because when I was done, I was done. I could have stayed, right? I didn't.
Yeah, I remember I remember one of my mentors, he talking to me on the phone, and he's like, "Hey, baby boy, check this out. Just say you don't have it in you to be a husband no more. Just say that."
Mm.
I looked at the phone like, "Negro, who you like what you just said to me?"
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was like, "Yo," he's like, "You already know, you know what the situation is. You know what you coming home to every day. So you either figure out what it takes to endure and fix and turn this thing around, or don't. But we're not gonna keep doing this."
Yeah. Man, that's
And I was
real.
like, "Oh, I'm not. I'm actually not, and that's why I'm feeling this way because I'm not doing this."
Yeah. Wow.
And I was the person who put it together,
Yeah.
which is rare because you see women do it most times.
Yep. 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 And yeah, Nikki, oh, I'm messing up her name, but she says honesty is key and honesty was so first and foremost. Yeah. So
Hey, listen, Nikki, you got to be willing to accept the honesty that you're asking for.
that's real.
Yeah, a lot of people be wanting honesty, and when they get that honesty, it rearranges them.
Yes. For real, for real.
And so you have to be willing to create and hold space for a person you say you want to do life with.
Mm,
Not just the good, but the beautiful, ugly, everything, right? Them vows do not say for better or for better or for best. And what happens is everybody loves the for better part, but when they get a taste of the for worse, they jump right out of that thing.
yep. Yep.
And
For
it's
real.
like I'm really sensitive to that now.
Hmm.
I can say that.
Yeah.
Vows, I don't think enough people really take time to understand what they are saying when they express these vows.
They don't. I joke around and I say I didn't hear my vows until I remarried. Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah. I first time I was oblivious. It was cool. But the second time around, I was like, oh, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
here's the thing, just because you understand something doesn't mean that you know how to do it. So here's the thing. Me and my wife went we basically lived like monks for 10 days. Went on a meditation retreat,
mm,
10 days, no contact with anybody, whole shebang.
yeah.
I walked away from that realizing this. People under people understand things on a devotional level, an intellectual level, or an experiential level.
Mhm.
But when you say knowing, if you know something, it's because you've experienced it.
Yep.
Devotional is what's happening right now. I'm saying something, you're hearing it, and it sounds good and you like it, you adopt it. Intellectual means that you've run it through some due diligence, you've reasoned and rationalized it.
Yep.
But experience, knowing, is only because you've experienced it.
Mhm.
That's it.
Mhm.
And so you can understand the language expressed in the vows, but unless you've lived the vows, you don't know what that is.
Yep. Real talk.
You don't.
Talk. Mhm.
And so now I can see, like, if we don't fix this tonight, this gonna linger for 2 weeks. It's gonna throw off. We need to have this conversation.
Yep. Yep. Might as well have it now, man. Just to get it on out the way. And I struggled with that for years, Lord knows, but I had to learn. So
You,
I
I
get it
mean,
now. But
you
better late than never.
listen.
So,
I've had to. I would say this. I didn't know how expansive I was until I got divorced.
mm,
I didn't know how much space, how much I could endure, how much I could be with somebody, right? I think there's a difference between being transparent and being vulnerable, right? Transparent is like letting somebody see you.
yeah.
Vulnerability is letting somebody like be with you in your stuff.
Mm, hmm hmm
And so again, because I've already lived through my nightmare, there's nothing that life can throw at me that I care about. So
Yeah.
I'm raw, unapologetically me. I don't Vulnerability is like me taking my hat off.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Mhm. That's
But when you do that, you model behavior that shows other people how to do it.
yep.
And so my wife is very much, you know, uh, a personality. She about getting stuff done. But what I know is how sensitive she is. I know her sensitivity in a way that nobody else does.
Mhm. And that's that intimacy. That's that deep intimacy.
Right.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have even known that I was capable of dealing with something like that.
Hmm.
Or I didn't know that this thing that we going through, we can overcome this or we can get through this because I hadn't endured a storm like that before. Now I'll be like, oh, what we doing? Yeah, let's get to this right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the confidence, man. Put in some reps, you put in some years. You like,
And quite frankly, when you remove divorce as an option, it's just not an option.
mm, yep. Because I told my wife, I'm like, I'm not doing this again. We gonna thug this out for real, for real.
I absolutely understand the sentiment of would you rather be happy or would you rather be right?
Man, listen. Yeah.
Whoever said that the first time put their foot in that because
For sure. Man, Dewan, this has been a phenomenal episode, man. I want to acknowledge you, first of all, for sharing your story with us, man. I definitely appreciate that.
for sure.
Want to acknowledge you for the content that you create, the business that you run, especially in helping us to think better and to be more aware, to not only just like getting our money right, but getting our mind right. What good is having some money if you messed up here? So I want to acknowledge you for those things, and also want to acknowledge you for saying yes again to marriage, right? Because that's not easy. That's another conversation to actually do it again. You know how many people check out after the first time? So I want to acknowledge you for those things, man. Let everyone know how they can get in touch with you. I'll have everything linked in the description below, but tell us what you got
Listen,
going on, all that good stuff.
I'm a very simple person to find. It's just my name, Dewane Mutunga. That's DeWaneMutunga on every platform. I don't got nothing fancy going on. It's just me. It's my name. I am. Uh, I care more about being relatable than being impressive. So, if you're willing to bring your full self, I'm always there at the full self table, and I really care about sharing the human experience with other people like yourself. So yeah, Dewane Mutunga on everything, and shoot me a message, send me a question. I really respond. I don't got no assistant or admin. It's really me.
Yeah.
I'm a real person living a real life, um, and yeah, I ain't no different than nobody else, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely appreciate that. Brave Arts community, you heard it here. Make sure you go connect with Dewan because he has phenomenal content. Uh, I've been following him for some years. So, like I say, this episode has been a blessing for me. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. Share this in your group chat with your homeboys. It's like three of y'all in your group chat, you and your boys share this video in that group chat. Watch the video and then have a conversation about it. Also, if you're watching this via if you're listening to this via podcast, make sure you leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Would love to hear your feedback. Give us that honest review. How can I improve? What am I doing? What you love about the show? All that other good stuff. By doing so, it'll put you in a drawing for a free Amazon gift card. Who doesn't like free stuff? This is Sean Heineman with special guests.
Dewane Mutunga,
All right, Bravehearts.
tap in.
Yes, sir. Take care, people.